to Running with Rainbows. It's Maya Larson, and here with a bonus class inspired by this month's Lady of Light, Bridget Riley. We had done our fun stripe piece released on April 1st, and then there is a digital class to follow up if you wanted to play with your stripes in a different way. But today I thought we'd come back. I wanted to do something a little bit more optical, a little bit more in keeping with her spirit of art or optical illusion. So what you'll need to do this class today is some low tack tape. I'm using the rainbow spectrum of colors, so you're welcome to do that as well. Or of course you could go more monochrome and take one of your favorite colors and either lighten it or darken it with white or black to create kind of an ombre effect. And we're just going to reuse the colors we start with on our base layer for our stripes as well, but we're going to have some fun having those back layers and those top layers talk to each other by using the same colors. We will be mixing them up and having some fun with color theory by placing contrasting or complementary colors next to each other, just to sort of stay true to the spirit of the op art without quite diving into all the precision necessary to do an optical illusion. So you can go ahead and tape up your canvas once you've got your rainbow base layer on in any way you like. I would recommend, however, you give that bottom layer at least 24 hours to completely dry. That way your low tack tape has less chance of accidentally peeling paint off the layer. So especially if you're not using high quality paint or you're using dollar store paint, that paint sometimes can be flaky. I would definitely recommend using acrylic paint for most of the Running with Rainbows classes that are available, unless I recommend otherwise. I don't recommend tempera paint because it does dry and flake and it's not meant to last. So yeah, so here I'm just going to use some wideband low tack tape. I ran out of my skinny tape, but as you saw during this Bridget Riley video, using narrower sections can definitely have a different impact on how you get that paint down. So it's fun learning for sure. And if you're following along through the element of emphasis section here on Running with Rainbows, by the way, if you're not interested in receiving those updates in your email, all you have to do is go to your settings and opt out of receiving the element of emphasis section updates on your Running with Rainbow account, which is no problem. The element of emphasis is where I deep dive further into my more metaphysical understandings and leanings of art and the process it can have and the benefits it has on this human spirit or the creative faculty in human beings. So I hope you are enjoying it if you are receiving it. This month we're doing my 5th annual April is for Alchemy, and art is optional this month. I'm keeping it a bit more chill, a little less prompt along, so you're not on the hook to create art every day if that's not where you're at. But we are going to cover my recently released Artist Oracle, which combines a little bit of alchemy and the elements and art principles of art and design. So it was a lot of fun to pull it together. It's a very simple deck as it stands. It is created right now with very minimal art and design on it, so that if you are inspired, you're not trying to create based on something you see from my art. It's definitely designed for you to tap into your own inner resources, which I know everybody has and I love to encourage. Alright, so here I am going back over top of my scarlet red base with some fresh scarlet red paint. I'm using the Natural Earth brand of paint products. They're acrylic paints. They're fine art quality, but they are made with a proprietary plant-based acrylic binder. So I love using it. I love knowing it's non-toxic, it's low fume. I've had very little sensitivity issues since making the switch to their brand, so it is a little bit more bang for my buck, and unfortunately it's not 100% sold in or manufactured in Canada, but hey, you do what you can when it comes to resources for art, which is our prompt for today in April is for Alchemy on the element of emphasis section. Our day 3 is represented by the planet Jupiter, and the subject Jupiter encapsulates is resources. So access to materials, making good use of your resources, taking time to take stock of where you gather your resources from, not just materially, but emotionally and spiritually as you approach your artwork in life. So a lot of good things to unpack under something so simple as a title of resources. So that's why I loved associating the planets. And I call the 7 major resources that sustain an artist on the inside and outside, the Sustainable 7. So please feel free to visit those posts on the Running with Rainbows Element of Emphasis section. They are all free, and they are available in podcast format, so you can download them and watch them as you like. On today's resource class, I did link to the free Making Your Own Watercolor Paint class that is available as well here on Running with Rainbows. So I had a lot of fun bringing in the orange. I don't use that color a lot in my art, so it was fun to have the rainbow just as an excuse to bring in colors I don't necessarily use and see often. One of the reasons I love painting is I love color, and just being able to play with it gives me a nice sense of satisfaction on the inside, which I'm sure a lot of artists gain from the practice of just coloring. Definitely make sure you use a palette knife or credit card or something that's in the right size for you. I find I always have to pick up my canvas and kind of tilt it, and I found using a palette was absolutely useless in this technique. It was just far easier to put the paint directly onto the canvas. That way I got a nice thick layer to use my knife to pull. I might mention as well, I went a little softer on the substrate or the base layer with the rainbow itself. It's a little more brushy. I used a chip brush to apply it, so it's not completely smooth, because I wanted to enjoy the smooth feeling of these stripes when I did the tape layer on top. So that was fun, playing with kind of the texture and weight of the lines. And then you'll see as I finish up here with the purple in a minute that I ended up going in with some spatter. Now that wasn't planned. I had planned to just keep it very simple, but the last second the spatter urge got the best of me, and I'm glad I did end up incorporating it. It has a wonderful effect, a sort of a twilight enchanted effect when we remove the tape. So if you are making the art with me here at Running with Rainbows and you have a brave soul, you're welcome to share it on Instagram or here on Substack through your own account and tag me. I would love to celebrate and see how you interpret the class. I completely respect and love the fact that each of us is an individual who will interpret the materials given to us in our own unique way, and I would love to see and celebrate what you make. So feel free to share it if you like publicly on Instagram, tag us there, or you can tag me here on Substack, or else if you're a little shy, we do have a members only, so this applies to the paid membership program. If you're watching this, you are a member of that, and you can access it anytime. Last year's Lady of Lights, each class has a post available, so if you just want to dive in and share that way you can, or you can just start a new thread and I can come and see it because I will get a notification. Or you can just DM it to me, a direct message. You can send it to me here on Substack or Instagram. If you don't want your name associated with it when I reshare it publicly, that's totally fine too. Just let me know so that I know how to best represent your art, and I would love to thank you in advance for sharing it and trying out these classes. I enjoy making them, so if you have any ladies of light or artists that you would like me to feature, please feel free to leave a comment here below and a heart as well. You can always feel free to share the class subscription option. I believe sometimes there's a prompt through Substack to get a deal, so that's referrals sometimes help with that as well. But I only charge $8 a month Canadian, so it's probably less if you're an American watching this for you. Because this is a creativity classroom. It's not necessarily a churn out artist with a certificate classroom. It is a way to keep yourself sustained and a part of a community should you need it, with different maybe headspace behind the selection of these classes. As in, I am a little different, so my reasons for choosing these classes and how I execute them might be unique compared to what you see pre-existing out here on Instagram. My style is informal, but it is insightful. So here I can see I love that beautiful juicy yellow, and that is going on top of the purple and blue layer, so it's going to have a nice contrasting effect because of course on the color wheel yellow exists opposite to violet. So it was a lot of fun to kind of think about that before applying the color, which is why I love the op art. It is a style of art and design that requires you to slow your roll a little bit and to focus. I found, if you'd like to see an artist on Instagram, Josie Lewis, she's very popular and famous, and I believe her way into art was through a traumatic event in her life, and her way of healing through it was to engage in watercolor. And I feel like Bridget Riley's style of stripes and design had an impact on her her work, and that application of watercolor in a thoughtful, slow, and methodical way helped her regain that sense of self and get into the flow state that enables artists and creatives alike, and as well as athletes and performers, I would think, to heal and sustain themselves and to keep moving forward. So even though art is often touted as something that should be shared and judged and weighed upon by the minds and opinions of others, just know that if it never sees the light of day, you are still an artist. It is still part of what makes you tick. And that is the way anything is sustained and carried forward. And my hope as an adult in midlife is that we carry these creative habits and practices forward for the new generation, because their world is looking very different than our world when we were young, and I feel like it's easy to take that for granted. I recently saw a Gen X post, of which I'm a Goonie Gen X to be specific. But she said, wrap your head around the fact that for kids today in 2025, 1980 is the same age gap or year gap as us for when we were in the 80s, looking back in the 1930s. And that really is kind of jarring for me, because the difference in style, attitudes, and the world at large were so drastically different. And I feel like that drastic difference doesn't exist in the last 30 years for me as an adult, but I could say it definitely would for somebody younger than me. And it gives me the opportunity to pause and kind of think about how that change in perspective, that generation gap, really comes to play. In any case, always more food for art with art. So here I went in with some white acrylic paint on the end of a brush. I watered it down a bit, and I'm just spattering lightly to create sort of that starry, magical feel that I love in all of my artwork. And as far as spatter goes, I don't tap my brush. I find I end up with spatter on my face when I do that, so I just take it and drip and spatter by flicking my hand. But everybody has their own unique pattern, and it does create your own unique spatter, but that is the subject for another day. So again, I hope you guys have had fun with this little extra bonus class, and the video bonus class of how to take your canvas and take a photo of it and play with it in your phone so that you can come up with new ideas for stripe patterns. Or if you wanted, you could take it, save your JPEG, and load it to a merchandising shop and have your beautiful op art printed on garments, just like Bridget Riley did. However, you would be the artist gaining the influence and the financial return from sharing your art on these new websites like Redbubble, where I share mine, that allow the artist to share their work with a minimal fee for the website itself. So it doesn't take too much out of you to share there. As always, take your time with your paint. I recommend taking it off while your paint is still slightly wet. I don't recommend waiting until it's dry, just in case anything got underneath and adhered to your base layer. It may remove the paint, so err on the side of caution. I find it so satisfying to pull these up. It was a lot of fun to pull up the dark blues on the yellows. There was no small amount of hesitation there, I can tell you. A little bit nerve-wracking to make sure that that blue stripe stayed nice and clean and I didn't drip any paint. But to me, when you hang this, I'm going to flip it. It's horizontally right now, but I will flip it vertically. It definitely scans landscapes, and I am very much into landscapes lately. I love the geometric pattern of the stripes. If you did take my Color Wonder class in January or read the PDF workbook I shared, sort of as a chapter header in each of those, different personal stories relating to color and experiences in my life where color has just mystified and amazed me. So one of them was a dream I had concerning a room filled with canvases on easels that had stripes and colors of varying combinations. And at the beginning of the dream, I was just sort of casually wandering through, but midway into this big, large room with canvases, I sort of got the impression that one of them was meant for me, and the anxiety built as I kept looking for all of these stripe patterns and canvases and just not getting the vibe, but none were for me. But eventually, at the end of the dream, against the far wall at the very edge, was the canvas on a floor, not even on an easel, but leaned up against the wall, and it was just for me. So diving into Bridget Riley this month has felt like a wonderful completion to a dream I had a long time ago concerning art. In any case, take care, friends. See you next month.